Hello friends. In this video I will be going much in detail about the term AJAX. I know you people must have come across this term during the web development. So what is AJAX all about and how it is important in our day-to-day life? Like for example, in front of you I have got one Python Django application. I have a CSV file right over here, and I'm showing you over here to make you to understand what the CSV contain. Well, there is a particular field called student where some people are not a student and some are student. So what I want to do is that I want to render this entire CSV file inside my Python application. And as you know that Python is based on Django is based on Python. So using the Django framework, I want to display this data in the browser. Let me start my server. So for that reason, I will go for Python manage.py run server, and that will enable my server application, and here it goes. Now let's come to the browser and let's hit the URL called localhost:8000. As I do that, you are able to see all the data that is inside my CSV file. Okay, so this part is working very fine. Now I would be opening my network tab to show you some amazing thing that brings you to the concept of AJAX. Let's look over here. There's an option called fetch-xhr. Do you know what this option? Yeah, people will definitely know there is a term called fetch, which is a function in JavaScript. But what about this XHR? And that brings you to the concept of AJAX. AJAX stands for Asynchronous JavaScript and Extended Markup Language, and this is what this particular tab will indicate. So what I want is, if you look at this particular page right now over here, firstly I'm getting all the data from my CSV with the help of Python Django. That is fine, but along with that I have got one drop down over here. Inside this drop down there are three options that are all yes and no. Now what I want is, I want to segregate those records based on this option. Suppose for example I will go for yes, so that means I want to see only those records where the people is a student. Similarly, if I say I will go for no, I want to show those records where the people is not a student. Let me show you that, and in the process you will be watching something very amazing inside this particular filter section. So please keep an eye right over here. So currently when I load the page, at that point of time you are seeing the entire record irrespective of whether the student is a student or not a student. Now let's come over here and let me click on the yes button. The moment I do, sorry, this is not a button, this is an item in the drop down. Oh, in fact I don't have any button over here. Exactly, because when you're working on AJAX, why would you go for a button? Because button means the entire page load, and that is not what I want. So what is AJAX all about? A partial load of a page, a partial change in the content without reloading the entire page. Can I prove it? Of course I can, and that's what you will be seeing. Right now I just loaded the entire page, so you got the entire data. Now I come over here and I will click on the yes button, and the moment I do that, immediately you see something happening over here. Wow, what is this all about? Firstly, look over here, the data set got replaced by only those records where the person is a student, right? And look over here, a new tag got added, or I can say this is a query parameter that got added in the URL, but there is no change in the URL. Exactly, because if there is a change in the URL, that means you are reloading the page, which I don't want. So what AJAX does is, internally it will render a particular content without reloading the page, and that is getting proved. Over here there is a question mark, because as we know that after in the URL the query parameter will be having a prefix that is called question mark followed by the parameter name and the value. So over here I have a term called filter, and the filter is yes. As you can see, that the option which I opted from the drop down, and the state is 200, that means the resource is available. And what type of response is this? XHR, and that stands for AJAX respond. And you know very well AJAX is present within the AJAX function is present within the JQuery, and in fact it is showing you amount of data that has got transferred, that is 1.4 KB. Now if I change the value, will it work? Of course it will work, and then it will be showing you those records where the person is not a student. In fact you can see filter again got called, and this time the value is no, and the amount of record is more over here. That's the reason it is showing the value 1.5 KB. So that means since the page is not getting reloaded, the previous information is also been shown over here. Okay, and similarly I can go and click on the all option. Eventually you will see the filter is all, and this time the record is pretty huge. That's the reason it is showing 2.6 KB. Again I am saying, although this is a Django application, but your front end can be anything. It can be Angular, it can be React, it can be Vue.js, or it can be regular HTML that has got a JavaScript involved, and within that you can also go for jQuery, and eventually you can implement AJAX. So whether your backend is Node or Spring Boot or Django, that makes no difference. because jQuery is a front-end application or front-end library, you can say so. So similarly, you can see again, if I go and replace all, again the new entry gets added. So this is all happening without the page load, and that's the reason why there is no button over here. But if I load the page, immediately all this data will be lost, because as I reload the page, it will not have the previous information. And I can show you that as I hit the enter over here. Now all the previous information has been deleted, and that's the fresh reload that is taking place. So if you want an application where there is no button involved, so you see over here in this entire application, I kept in mind that I will not come up with a button, but still there will be change in the data. In that case, AJAX is the right person to give a call. Now I will show you the coding part. But since I am working on the Django, so as you know, Django is based on the Python, and this particular video I was emphasizing more on AJAX. So let me bring you to the HTML part. Okay, by the way, I can show you the portion of Django as well as a glance. So this is where the Django code lies, and this is purely a Python piece of code. So let's come over here and let me show you the glance, and this is just here I'm giving a call to CSV file. Just in a very short, I'm saying this is I'm giving a call from I'm giving a call to the CSV file, as you can see right over here, and then I'm just opting the data based on the drop down, and it is rendering to see whether it's a AJAX request or whether it's a regular call. Okay, because there is a difference. When you are loading the page for the first time, at that point of time, this is not an AJAX call. Henceforth, you will be calling the regular render function. But the moment I'm changing the drop down, I mean from the drop down I'm choosing the option, at that point of time it is an AJAX call, and for that reason at this point of time this if condition will become true, and I have gone for the print statement to make you understand that yes, at the time when I'm choosing an option for the drop down, this portion is working. That will be proved in the terminal. As you can see, it is getting a call from the HTTP request. Whereas when you are loading the page for the first time, as I hit the enter, at that point of time it is not the AJAX call. That will get proved by this particular print statement. That means this particular line is getting executed. So either the response will be in the form of an AJAX, or else the response will be in the form of a regular call from the Django. Okay, that's how the difference takes place. Now when you are giving a call to the, when from the AJAX, when the call is coming, this portion is getting worked. Now let me explore you to the part of the HTML, which is far more interesting. So over here, this portion is rendering the table part, and this is the drop down which is mainly responsive for giving a call to the AJAX. This drop down I have given a name called student-filter. You are free to choose what the name is. We know that when you give a call to AJAX, at that point of time you have to give a call to JQuery, and since I want to load the data initially, so I'm giving a call to the ready function, and this is the by default function that gets involved with the moment when the page is getting loaded. Right, at that point of time there is no drop down being decided. You are not deciding any data from the drop down. You're simply loading the page by typing the URL, and at that point of time what is happening, if you go to the console log, well, I didn't give any print statement over here, but if you give one print statement over here, you will find that that line gets printed. So by default red is getting called initially when the page is getting loaded. Now let's come to the AJAX part, and here is where the AJAX involved. This is the name of the drop down which I have given, and that's where the AJAX is getting invoked. So when I'm choosing an item from the drop down, at that point of the change event handling taking place, which value I have chosen from the drop down, I mean all or yes or no, that will get stored over here. Okay, now here is the AJAX request coming in picture. As I said, AJAX means a partial load of a page, and there is no redirection to a new page. The page is not getting reloaded. That's the reason the URL tag is completely empty. So that means you stay in the same page. Sound interesting, right? And the data is coming in the form of a get request. Okay, in fact this is a get request. The reason why even in Python also I've given a call to the get request rather over here. So here I'm giving a call to get request. Now let's see this part. This is really very interesting. As I chose an item from the drop down that is stored over here, now I'm giving a call to a key value pair, you can say so, and here I have got a key called filter. Now this term is what you are seeing in the browser the moment when I'm choosing this particular option. Yes, you are seeing the term. Let me take you to the network tab. Let me bring you over here in the XHR. You are seeing the word filter. So many people by default they take it for granted that this filter tag is a filter word is actually a keyword, but this is not true. Let me show you that. So let me change this to, like, I'm writing over here called my filter. So I write my filter, and now let's see what happened. This time when I'm loading the page, by default the initial load is taking place where AJAX is not getting called. Now if I choose an option called no, you will find the option called my filter. So there is no such term called filter. This is totally your choice what term you are going to write over here. I said I'm going to track everything that is there in the AJAX. So if you go to this particular video, really you will understand the detail about AJAX. The response that you are sending in the form of a JSON, and this is very interesting because you are sending the response in the form of JSON, that data would be coming. Okay, so this is what I'm going to send to the from the front end to the back end. Now on basis of that, there will be a response coming from server, so that response which will come from the server would be in the form of JSON. Of course, your transaction will be successful. In case if it is not successful, then the error handling part takes place over here. But in my application, since this application is not deployed in the network, but still it is going to be success. And for that reason, what data you are receiving over here, that I need to re-render. And for that reason, I have gone for a loop over here with the help of the AJAX each function. But before that, I have created one table tag over here. So let me bring you to the table. As you can see, there is a table involved over here that I want to clean it, because every time the data is going to be shuffled and it will be printed over here. So this particular table also got an ID. So what I'm going to do is that I'm identifying the CSS. So here over here the hash is involved, CSS tag student table, and this is the name I've given over here by the name called ID student table, and inside that there is a table that is involved. That is what I want to rerun. So table body would be rerun over here. So as you can see over here, this entire table body will be getting modified. That's what I'm doing right over here. So once I find out the ID of that particular table tag, I'm going to clean that data, because each time a new data will be putting over here. So the previous data I need to replace, and so that it gives a place to the new data. And over here, the each function is like a loop in jQuery, where it will pick up one record at a time, and it will print them over here. So over here I have got the entire data. So from the server, when the data is coming, that means from Django, when Django is forwarding this response in the form of JSON. So that's the reason I told you over here that whatever response you are going to get, it is a JSON response, because my Django application, I mean my Python application, will be sending data in the form of a response. That's the reason I've written over here just a response. So this is very interesting, very important to figure out that how the backend is coordinating with the front end. So this data comes over here in the form of JSON, and from the JSON over here with the help of each function in jQuery, as it holds the JSON data, and we know the JSON in the form of a key value pair, it picks up the data and store it over here. And since we are running a loop, so for that reason indexing is required to find out whether we reach the last element that is there in the loop or not. So individual record is present over here, and this record has got the key that is there in the CSV file, which I have mentioned over here, so like age, student, income, saving, and that is what you are mentioning over here. Accordingly, it is getting displayed over here. Okay, and finally the application is working. So with this particular video, I hope you understood that how exactly jQuery works in the form of AJAX, and how important that without the page getting reloaded, how can you render the value coming from the database or from the backend. Okay, and as I said, this particular video I was making the use of the backend in the form of Python Django, but the backend can be anything. It can be Node.js also, no issue about that. Okay, so that's all from this video presentation. I believe it did help you in some way or the other. So see you soon in my next video. Bye bye.